Today, we become legends.
So I've had a lot of requests to do some more SMITEFire build review videos. This site has some pretty interesting stuff, you know, some very good builds, some not so very good builds, and you guys seem to enjoy the variety that you get from here and my thoughts on them, because I generally know how to build most gods relatively well. I'm not perfect with all of them, don't get me wrong, but I often can critique builds pretty well. And so yeah, we're going to be back with another episode. Let me know if you do want to see more of these. Of course, drop a like on the video so I know if you want me to make more of these, and drop a comment saying you enjoy them. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So we have some top Smite guys here. Let's do a top Smite guide. Let's have a look at a Ratatoska one. This one has a 9.7 rating, 576,000 views. It always amazes me how many views these guys get on SMITEFire. It's actually insane. Like, my top god guide on YouTube probably has maybe 50, 60,000 views, possibly a little bit more than that. Definitely not over 100,000 for an individual god guide. Some of my like role guides and stuff have over 200,000, but for an individual god guide, not more than about 100,000, probably less than that actually. I mean, obviously it's a video, it's different. People will be more willing to just like click on a text guide and just have a quick look at it than watch through a video and stuff, but it's actually insane how popular this site is, really. So the starting build, we have the Nettle Acorn, Boomba's Dagger, Hand of the Gods, multi-potions. This is okay. I don't think you really need Hand of the Gods, but for me, what I've seen from jungle right now is that you can go Hand of the Gods, but you don't need it. It's sort of like an optional thing if you do want to have like a little bit of a faster early game, but I think Rat has good enough clear that you won't really need Hand of the Gods. You could just go for more potions here, just go for like 2 health, 2 multi or something like that, but if you do enjoy Hand of the Gods, I don't see any major problems with this. The standard build, he goes for Thistlethorn. I like this. The crit Acorn is a little unreliable in my opinion. I don't like relying on crits. If you get the crits, it's very, very strong, but sometimes you don't get the crits. I don't like relying on that. And also, I think the crit Acorn is actually the lowest run rate Acorn in the entire game. So this is definitely the best Acorn for like a damaged jungle build. We have Boomba's Hammer, obviously insanely strong. I think this took a nerf recently actually, but Boomba's Hammer just super good. Into Transcendence, Arendite, Void Shield, Heartseeker. This build overall is pretty damn good. Transcendence, I wouldn't necessarily want to put it in the default build, because obviously this is his standard build that he goes every game. I don't think you go trans every game necessarily. You can, but a lot of the time if you get put behind early or something, I mean, I guess on Rat you're unlikely to get put behind early like super majorly, but I don't know, I just don't like default recommending trans to people because it's really bad if you're like behind and you can't get the stacks too much if like you're getting invaded or anything like that. I like to put it as like an optional, and this slot would be something like an early pen item like Crusher or Jotun's Wrath. Probably not Jotun's Wrath given you're building Boomba's Hammer, but like Crusher or something like that, Brawlers if they have healing. Arendite is fine. You often engage with Rat's ult and then you can use the Arendite to like chase down enemies after you've engaged on them and do extra damage. Very good. Void Shield is okay. I would probably recommend this be Shifter Shield. Shifter Shield is very strong in the new patch, and it has more balanced defense and a little bit more of an offensive capability. This only has 20 power, and even though it does have some pen to up your damage, Shifter Shield has 70 power when you're above 75% health, and I like that a lot. And obviously, like I said, Shifter Shield has mixed defense instead of just physical defense. And then Heartseeker is fine. I think Heartseeker is still very strong. Rat can proc it on all 4 abilities pretty easily. Definitely a good pick there as like your late game sort of powerhouse item. This could also be like Bloodforge if you wanted to, if you were getting a lot of kills, stuff like that. Skill order, obviously you level Acorn Blast first because he's going for Thistlethorn Acorn. If you were going for one of the Flurry-based Acorns, you'd level Flurry first. Flurry second, Dart third, ult whenever you can. Yeah, leveling order is perfectly fine. I'm not sure what this extended build section is for. It looks like a mistake to me. Offensive options. So yeah, he's done... This is something I don't really like that people do on SMITEFire guides, is that they just list half of Smite's entire item list in a section saying these are your options. I think, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of these items are valid options that you could build in a lot of games and in a lot of situations. But for me, I just think, like, this guide has 600,000 views. I guarantee you most of the people that have viewed this guide are noobs that don't really know what they're doing and don't know how to build. And this doesn't help them, really, in my opinion. Listing 17 different items, it's gonna overwhelm them with information a little bit. I know you do have this build up here, and noobs can just kind of take this build and roll with it, but for me, I prefer like you have a default build like this, and then maybe 4 or 5 swap out options for offense, and maybe like a few swap out options for defense as well, because it's a bit of an information overload when you're given 17 different items that you could swap into your build, and I think new players will either be confused about this or will ignore this section entirely because they're like, 17 different items, I don't know when to build all of these, I'm just going to build the default build. Whereas I think if you had 4 or 5 solid options, it would be better in my opinion. But in terms of the actual items here, like I said, most of them are pretty viable. Jotuns is good, but you're building Bumper's Hammer, so you don't really want to go Jotuns because that caps out your cooldown already, and you can't buy into things like Arendite and Hydra, stuff like that, other things with cooldown reduction. Bloodforge, like I said, good. Brawler's good for anti-healing. I wouldn't really recommend Stonecutting Sword, to be honest. Crusher is good, Void Shield's fine. Titan's Bane is okay. I don't think you need it, really. Rat's typically looking to blow up squishies. You probably don't need Titans. Sledge is fine, and Chile is fine if you need some magical. Serrated Edge I probably wouldn't recommend either. But overall, the options are decent, but like I said, I would prefer to see sort of just 4 or 5 options. Like maybe here you put like Bloodforge, Brawlers, Crusher, Trans, and like Shifters or something like that. Just cut some of the less necessary options out of here. Kind of like this section actually. Look at the defense options. This is what I would prefer to see. I wouldn't really recommend going hardcore full defense like Breastplate or Bulwark, but yeah, Magi's or Mantle is typically what I like to go on squishies that can buy into like one defense item. Like if you can afford to buy one defense item like you can on a lot of assassin jungles, I either go Magi's or Mantle based on how much trouble I'm having with like getting hard CC'd. Yeah, crit options is fine. I would probably recommend Deathbringer Malice, maybe Rage if you wanted to go like hardcore into crit. I wouldn't really recommend Shadow Steel Shuriken even if they have anti-heal, but I guess it's okay if they have anti-heal. Anti-heal build, yeah, it's the same thing, but like I said, swapping out that trans for a Brawler's Beat Stick, so yeah, this is fine. Honestly, I would probably just like replace the trans with a Crusher and then say build Brawlers if they have anti-heal, because early pen is super important in jungle, and his build has like no flat pen in it, which is one of like the bigger criticisms. Bruiser build, yeah, I like this Bruiser build. Lacks a little bit in magical defense, but you can often get away with not building too much magical defense, especially if you have a lot of health. Like he has 60 from this, he has a ton of health from Void Shield and Sledge, that's like 400 health in total. So he will still be like reasonably tanky against magicals, plus Bumper's Hammer, 300 health as well, so I do like this build quite a lot. That's more of like a solo lane build, I would say, though, probably not a jungle build. And then the crit nuke bomb build, yeah, I guess this is just like to one-shot people. Not an amazing build, but yeah, it could work. For relics, Blink Beads, Aegis Shell. I don't think you're ever going Aegis Shell. Junglers, especially assassin junglers, you kind of just need Blink Beads. You're sort of locked into those 2 relics from the start, really. You could go like Beads Aegis, maybe, but really you need the Blink, and you obviously need Beads. So basically just Blink Beads. I wouldn't recommend building anything other than that on a rat jungle. But yeah, overall, this guide is pretty good. There's some criticisms in terms of like the formatting. I won't recommending like this many items to people. This should probably be flat pen in my opinion. But other than that, this build is very solid. For a new player, this will get you going. So I'll rate this one like an 8.5. I wouldn't say it's a 9.7. I think this one's a little bit overrated, but it's still a very good guide. I should probably buy this, right? I make videos on it. I'm sure I've made more than $1 off of ad revenue reviewing builds from this site. I should probably buy this. I might do that after the video. But yeah, we're going to look at some sort of updated guides. So not the top guides, just like ones that have been recently updated. Let's have a look here. This guy's made a ton of support guides, really putting in the work. Maybe it's just the same guy reformatted for different gods, I'm not sure. But he's put a lot of support guides out. Let's have a look at one of these. Let's have a look at Geb or something. So he has Aura Bot build. Sure, I would recommend Sentinel's Embrace, not Compassion. Compassion's decent, but I think Sentinel's Embrace is better. I said this from the start, Sentinel's Embrace is going to be really strong. Also, I'm not really sure why he built Compassion and not Sentinel's Embrace in the Aura Abuse build. Surely he wants Sentinel's Embrace in the Aura Abuse build, but whatever. Staff of Muradin, I wouldn't really recommend. That's kind of trolly. I mean, if you want to go for it, sure. Sunder, I think, is genuinely underrated. I don't hate Sunder at all. You obviously need to upgrade it super early. Default Sunder is trash, but when you upgrade it, it's actually quite solid. But it is a little risky to go. You know, you're not going to have that shell if you're going like Blink Sunder. But obviously, he said it's an aggressive build, so I guess it kind of makes sense. Cooldown build. Yeah, pretty good. Relic Dagger, super good item in my opinion. War Flag build. That will probably be in like the aggressive build, I would have thought. It's a little confusing. Like, he doesn't have Sentinel's Embrace in the Aura Bot build, and he doesn't have Spartan Flag in the aggressive build. A little confusing. A bunch of situational items here. I personally like to put a couple more points in Shockwave before I start leveling Shield on Geb. I typically go like 2 or 3 points into Shockwave for like extra wave clear and a bit of damage before I start leveling Stone Shield. But overall, this isn't too terrible of a leveling order. Honestly, this guide isn't amazing. A lot of these builds are like okay, but not great, and he doesn't really have like a good default build. these are all kind of like mediocre builds or like meme builds. There's no really like good default build that you could go. I feel like if you picked any of these builds, you would do okay, but you wouldn't do great, really. And I don't really like recommending sort of like Staff of Murder. He's also a really big fan of Pribwin that I don't think is like that amazing, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Pribwin on Geb. I kind of get the point, you know, you're going to blink in, you're going to ult with Pribwin, you're probably a little bit exposed at that point, you want the shield, but I don't know, I just don't really like it that much. Overall, I give this one probably like a 6.5 or 7 maybe. There's not really a lot of formatting to it, and it's just like a lot of kind of mediocre builds. We've got a new mid-conquest build here, let's take a peek. Conduit Gem, yep, I recommend that. Magic Focus for a pen rush, totally fine. 2 health, 1 mana is exactly what I would go, and then beads, obviously. The start is perfect, I would say. I don't think I'd change anything about this. You can go like a multi if you want, but I do like to have a little bit of extra mana sustain on my mage mids. The full build, Gem of Focus. This should probably be Archmage's Gem. I don't know if that's like a mistake or if he genuinely thinks Gem of Focus is better. Shoes of Focus, he builds the Magic Focus into Deso, Karen's Coin, Soul Gem, Road to Hootie, Cell Boots for Mantle. So this is okay. The Karen's Coin I wouldn't really recommend. I'm just not a big fan of Karen's Coin. It's sort of a weird item in that like, you want to build it early because it's a stacking item, you want to get those stacks done early on, but you also don't want to build it early because it's percent pen. Obviously percent pen earlier on when people have less protections is nowhere near as good, so I will probably just swap out the Karen's Coin and just put Obsidian Shard later in the build maybe, like perhaps take out the Karen's Coin, move the Soul Gem up 1 slot and then just put Obsidian Shard where the Soul Gem was. Mantle of Discord, I don't think you really need it on Nuwa. She's not the safest, but she's safe enough that I don't think you need to go like a Mantle on her in your default build. Maybe in some games you might want to swap out an item for this, but that would be in like an optional section, not in the default build in my opinion. Relics, Beads, Aegis, yeah, obviously fine. Optional items, yeah, so he's done a little bit of an item dump here, kind of like that rat build. Archmage's Gem, I think, shouldn't be optional. That should just be in the build, in my opinion. Chronos Pendant is decent. I think you can definitely fit that in the build somewhere. Obsidian Shard, like I said, should probably replace the Karen's Coin. Breastplate, yeah, Breastplate is pretty situational, but can be okay. Divine Ruin against healers, obviously. He's listed Sundering Axe as the other starter, because obviously that's very popular right now, but getting nerfed in the next patch, so we'll see if mages go back to, like, more traditional mage starts with, like, Conduit Gem, Sands of Time style stuff. I would imagine they do. I mean, that's the intent of the change, so hopefully it will be successful. But to be honest, I think even with Sundering Axe being as strong as it is, Nuwa should still be building Archmage's Gem right now. I think it's genuinely that good on Nuwa that you can forego the sort of overall better option of not rushing Sundering Axe, like delayed Sundering Axe versus going straight into the gem. Reaver, obviously insanely good on Nuwa. Reaver got a lot of nerfs. It used to be so good on like every mage, but it took so many nerfs that it's fallen out of a lot of mage builds. But once again, Nuwa is one of a few gods that still makes really good use of Soul Reaver, for the same reason that she still makes really good use of Archmage's Gem, and that it procs on all 5 targets in her ult, so it's super good for that. Optional build here. So I like this one a little more. It swaps out the Karen's Coin for an Obsidian Shard, like I said. It incorporates a Chronos Pendant in there somewhere, which is pretty good for Nuwa. You like to have a lot of cooldown on Nuwa. Divine Ruin, obviously this will be Deso if you're not against mages. And still Gem of Focus, this should just be Archmage's Gem. If you replace the Gem of Focus with Archmage's Gem here, this build is pretty solid overall. I'm not sure what this section's about. Troll items, don't buy them. Like, I don't think anyone was ever going to buy these, but I guess if a noob came into this being like, I'm going to buy Lono's mask on Nuwa, he's told them that that's a bad idea. These are all bad. Don't ever buy any of these. And then wards, yeah, of course. Leveling order. Don't you level soldiers before Fog on Nuwa? I'm not a big Nuwa player, but I feel like you level soldiers. I literally haven't played Nuwa like almost at all since the rework. I played a shit ton of old Nuwa, but not much of new Nuwa. I'm pretty sure you level the soldiers first though, right? Because then you get more soldiers for like the exploding combo. There's no way you level the Fog first. But then obviously ult whenever you can is totally fine. The leveling order is a little whack in my opinion. Nuwa mains can correct me in the comments if you genuinely do level Fog before soldiers, but I feel like you must level soldiers before the Fog. So overall, I'll give this guide like maybe a 7. There's a lot of problems with it. The starting build is totally fine actually, but in the full build, like, I'm not a huge fan of Karen's Coin. This should definitely be Archmage's Gem. I wouldn't really recommend Mantle of Discord in the default build. There's a lot of sort of optional item spam, but to be honest, the optional items aren't too bad. A lot of them are definitely viable items, and the leveling order is a little questionable in places, so we'll give this one a 7. We have Nemesis Jungle. I'm a pretty big Nemesis player, so hopefully I'll be able to critique this one pretty well. Eye of the Jungle, Katana, Health Pots, Multi-Pots, and Blink. Pretty perfect starting build in my opinion. Eye of the Jungle is the go-to on Nemesis. You can go Boomba's Hammer if you're going like a more bursty build, but I do prefer Eye of the Jungle because she makes such good use of the attack speed on Protector of the Jungle. And then Katana for like a Stone Cutting Sword Rush. So against weak, so that means against squishies I assume. You go Protector of the Jungle, obviously, Warrior Tabby, Crusher, Stone Cutting, Executioner, Serrated, Ironite. This is pretty good overall. I'm a little confused about why you go Crusher for like your rush, but you have Katana here. If you're gonna rush Crusher, this should be Mace instead. And then just go Stone Cutting afterwards. But I think with how strong Stone Cutting is right now, they reduced the cost of it a little while back. I'm not sure exactly when they did that, but it's really, really strong for the cost now. Like it's 2350 for 50 power, 7% movement speed, 30 pen, 30 prots. It's like super good. So I honestly don't even mind rushing it off of like a Katana stat. It's actually pretty solid. But overall, the build's not too bad. Executioner got buffed recently, of course, so Executioner is sort of the go-to now. This was probably Atalanta's bow before the changes, but Executioner is now back in the driver's seat of like the basic attack percent pen option. Ironite, super good on Nemesis, obviously. Serrated Edge, pretty good as well. Versus tanks, he has like an Executioner kin-sized Titan's Bane build. This can work. I don't think you really need to go this hardcore into killing tanks with Nemesis. She already kills tanks very well. You could go like the Executioner kin-sized route, but I don't think you need the Titan's Bane. I think that's a little overkill. Obviously right here, you're looking at like 30 flat reduction, 28% reduction, 20% pen, 20% pen plus another 20% pen plus kin size. It's a little bit overkill in my opinion. I like the idea though of just like absolutely murdering tanks with this build, but I think Nemesis already does well enough against tanks that you could swap out the Titan's Bane for something else, you know, maybe an Ironite. And then he has a Crit Nem build. Crit Nem is actually my favorite way of building Nem right now. I would probably swap out the Rage for a Malice. I typically go Wind Demon, Malice, DB. Malice is like super good on Nemesis. And probably I don't think you really need the RC. Lifesteal is kind of nice, but you have the shield for like sort of survivability, healing aspects for Nemesis. I don't think she really needs lifesteal in the build too much. Leveling order is totally fine. So yeah, this is pretty good. I would like to see some optional swap outs. Just like a few little option swap outs, like maybe a Bloodforge, something like that, you know, something that you can swap into the build if you're feeling it. Like perhaps some defense as well. Nemesis does okay with like one defense item in her build, so like a Magi's, a Wing Blade, a Mantle of Discord, some kind of swap in like that. But overall, the builds are very good. I think if you pick these up, especially the crit build and the squishy dealing with build, you'll do pretty well with these builds. 10 out of 10 is probably a little overrated in my opinion. I would say this one's like a 9. It's pretty good. And you know what, boys? You can't see because of my webcam frame, but I have some guides of my own here. There's some that I've archived, some kind of... I used to like publish builds on SMITEFire back in, it looks like sort of 2016, 2017. And the only guide I still have published is a Kali guide. So we're going to review my 2017 Kali guide and see if it was any good. Just as like a little funny one to finish this off. So let's have a look at this one. So here we are, 160,000 views, dude. 160,000. That is like 3 times what my highest guide has on YouTube. It's actually insane how many views you get on like SMITEFire guides. Yeah, so you can see... real name exposed, and March 14th 2017 was when I last updated this one. I think I made it before then. So we have a full build example. This was back when Fatalis was still in the game, so you're building that. It's not bad, to be honest. Stone Cutting isn't something you really build on Kali anymore, neither is Ichable, but maybe like back then it was sort of a go-to. But Kin's Executioner, Fatalis, obviously, are still core on Kali to this day. But yeah, Fatalis is Hasten Katana, obviously. But yeah, back in the day, that was Hasten Fatalis. Core items, yeah, these were definitely her core items back in the day, and they still are her core items now, if you just replace Hasten Fatalis with Hasten Katana. Attack speed options, RC, I don't recommend RC on Kali anymore. Even back then, I don't think it was that good. I don't really know why I put this here. I don't think you need lifesteal on Kali, basically. She has more than enough survivability by just ulting and going for target kills. You're better off just going for like super hardcore into damage and not bothering with lifesteal just so you can get those target kills for your healing instead. Oboe is almost core on Kali nowadays to boost your attack speed up to like insane levels. When you have Kali's attack chain with kin size, you just want as much attack speed as possible, so Odibo is like really good. Penetration options, brawlers... I don't think you really want brawlers unless like they have a super heavy healing team. You're probably better with Toxic Blade, but I think I think when this guide was published, Toxic Blade didn't even exist, because this was like 4 years ago at this point. So, yeah, this would now be Toxic Blade, but I assume I put that there just in case of like super heavy healing comps. The Crusher, I actually do like the Crusher a lot now. This is typically what I go in my second slot rush. So I got like starter item, mace, potions, boots, Crusher is how I start Callie now. So this is like super good. It just sort of augments Callie's early game a little bit better, because her early game isn't amazing, but lash damage combined with Crusher for like early pen and attack speed, she uses the stats super well. It's actually quite good for like an early rush on Callie. Stone Cutting, once again, I don't think Stone Cutting's that good. It's okay, especially with the price reduction, it's not too bad on her, but I don't think it's amazing. And then I've already talked about Asia Nikovol. Defensive choices, Frostbound Hammer you don't need. You're fine with just like jumping after people and using haste to stick to people. Wingblade is okay. I think Wingblade you could definitely go for in certain situations against like really heavy slow comps, but I think Kaliol provides slow immunity if I remember correctly. Yeah, Kaliol provides slow immunity, so oftentimes you don't really need this, but it can be okay. For relics, sure, I think Bracer in 2017 was super broken, and that's why I put that here. I definitely wouldn't recommend Bracer on her anymore, but there was a point in time where Bracer was almost like an auto build because it was so strong, and that's probably why I put this here. Aegis I don't think you need, just go Blink Beads on Callie Jungle. Blink Beads every game. Leveling order, yeah, this is fine. You can level the ult before the 1. I do that now, but back in the day I used to level the ult like full on last. But to be honest, you only get extra damage on the jump. You could definitely level the ult before the jump. That's what I do now. That's what I would recommend. But I do like to max the 2 and the 3 before I start putting points in the ult. I think they're more useful than just like an extra 0.25 seconds on the ult duration. And I got a whole thing here. It's quite well formatted, but I think, yeah, I used a template from this guy Zilby to do the formatting. I didn't do the formatting myself, so credits to him on that. Man, I kept this really up to date. So yeah, patch 4.4, I started documenting changes that happened to Callie. Yeah, look at all this stuff. Like Hasten Fatalis removal, Atalanta's bow being added. I'm quite proud of this actually. I did quite a lot of stuff. I kept up with this guy. There's like strength and weaknesses, ability explanations. The formatting is really nice, but once again, the formatting wasn't my thing. Explanations of the items. This is a decent guide. I can see why this did quite well. But yeah, overall, I would rate my guide like, if I'm rating it based on the time that it was released, probably like an 8. If I'm rating it now, probably like a 7. Because some of the options haven't aged well, like Stone Cutting Sword, Frostbound Hammer, Ichable. You don't build those on Callie anymore. Assy as well. You really just don't. And also the leveling order has changed. I level Destruction before I level Nimble Strike now. But yeah, I just thought it'd be funny to take a look at one of my guides from way back in the day. If you do want to see any more of my guides, I have a couple, I think, that I archived. But they are finished guides, I think. It's for like Thor and someone else. So if you do want to see any more of my guides, just like a review at the end of the episode, I have a couple more of those. So maybe next episode. Leave a comment down below if you want to see one of my guides reviewed at the end of next episode, like this one. But yeah, that'll be it for this video. Once again, drop a like if you enjoyed the video. It lets me know that I want to make more of these, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I will catch you guys in another video later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.